TIFU. I tried to break into my own house, got arrested, and tried to run away. So technically, this isn't a today I fucked up. It was years ago, but the story doesn't belong in confessions, and it was definitely a fuck up. So I was about 22, and after leaving home at 16, had come back to my parents to live for a while. I was in the habit of going out Friday and Saturday nights and getting absolutely shit-faced, and then coming home in the early hours of the morning and waking everyone up. This, as you can imagine, was not making me popular with my parents, and it resulted in more than a few heated conversations. But I was young, and I was an arsehole, and I did not care about anyone but myself. So on the fateful weekend, I went out on Friday night and came home at something like 3 a.m., absolutely blitzed, and realized I had left my jacket After Hours pub. So I'm banging on the door until my parents woke a J at me in seemed like a good idea. Now, was not a good idea. When I woke up the following day, we had a blazing row, and I was told with absolute certainty if I did this again, I was moving out with no further discussion. I did actually feel bad, and it did sink in. That evening, Saturday, I went out, met my mates in the pub, spent all night drinking, and then we all went to a house party nearby. Eventually, I got a taxi home and ended up outside my parents' house in about 3 a.m. again, so shit-faced it was a miracle that I was still upright, when I realized I did not have my keys again. My mother's words from earlier in my head. I knew that waking my family up would end badly, but I really wanted my bed. When I looked at the front of the house and came up with what seemed in my addled state to be a brilliant idea. My bedroom was on the front of my house. My main windows were shut, but a skylight window was open. If only I could reach my window. I went round the back of the house, climbed over the fence, and let myself into the garage, where there were a couple of ladders, one of which was a 3-piece extendable ladder. So I took the ladder out of the wall hooks, put it on my shoulder, and carried it out the garage, and, surprisingly, only knocked a few things over. I got the ladder into the garden, hoofed it over the fence, climbed back over the fence, took it to the front garden, extended the ladder, and stood it up against my bedroom window, and climbed up with a view to getting in my skylight. In my mind, I had done all this silently and not disturbed anyone. I was later to find out that while I had somehow failed to wake my parents, I had woken up both the neighbors and the people on the opposite side of the road, and there were at least 2 999 calls reporting a burglary in progress. In my world, where I was being stealthy and ninja-like, I got to the top of the ladder and tried to climb in the skylight window head first. But I just couldn't do it. I managed to get my shoulders in, and I got in as far as my waist, but my jeans and my belt caught on the window latch, and with my weight on it and in my pissed state, it didn't matter how much I wriggled or how many times I tried, I just couldn't work out how to get past my belt and my waistband. I don't know how long I was struggling like this for, but eventually I decided that this wasn't working and it was time to back out and come up with a different plan. But as I somehow wriggled backwards back onto the ladder, I was suddenly aware of people in the garden shining torches at me and shouting at me to come down. The Met Police finest officers had arrived. I will never know how I actually managed to back out and come down the ladder without falling, but I did, and as soon as I was down, I was grabbed and unceremoniously handcuffed with my hands in front of me. I looked a right state. Aside from being extremely drunk, I was covered in mud where I had fallen over in the flower bed when climbing the back fence, and I had blood all over the front of my t-shirt from where I had cut my stomach trying to slide over the window latch. They absolutely did not believe it was my parents' house and it was my bedroom window. After a bit of arguing, one of them said, if it was my house, the occupants could identify me if they were woken up, so they would bang on the door. No. Visions of being homeless flooded into my head. I begged, please don't wake them up. The officer said, see, I knew you were lying. I was moved towards the 2 police cars that were stopped in the road, resigned to the fact a night in the cells was a better option than the wrath of my mom, relieved that she wasn't going to be woken up. I don't know what the thought process was in my mind, but I honestly thought I had talked them out of knocking on the door to inform my parents there had been a burglary attempt, and I had got away with it. Just as I was being walked towards the police car, I saw the porch light come on, and realized that one of the officers was ringing the doorbell and banging on the door. I saw the door open, was filled with complete panic, and felt the hand on my shoulder relax. And in that instant, completely shit-faced and handcuffed, I knew there was only one sensible thing I could do. Run away. I just bolted and ran for my life, jumping over obstacles. In my mind, I was making this amazing getaway. In reality, I got about 3 meters before this officer, the size of a forward prop rugby player, slammed into me and I went down like a sack of potatoes. I had a fleeting glimpse of my mom in her nightie, shouting, "I'm going to bloody kill him!" before I vanished under a pile of uniforms, as they all bundled onto me to make sure I didn't try to get up. Initially, my mom was raging. Then my dad came out, and after speaking to the officers and identifying me, and talking to me, now sitting in a bundle handcuffed in the back of the police car, he established what I had done and started to laugh. I was eventually de-arrested and released, and allowed indoors to clean myself up. My dad, aside from being woken up, thought the whole thing was funny, and he talked my mom down, and by the time I sobered up and everyone got some sleep, she saw the funny side too. I didn't get thrown out, and I did learn my lesson, and I hid a key in the back garden for any future emergencies. For the record, I did start to behave responsibly, and I didn't destroy my relationship with my parents. This story got told at my wedding. TIFU not washing my straw for 9 years. It's been a few days and my stomach has settled enough to share my FU. I would also like to preface this that I'm in my 30s, of good hygiene, and did not think I was an idiot before this. I do now. In 2017, when plastic straws got banned, my friend got matching reusable metal straws with a little phrase etched on them. Our master plan was to take them out with us to pubs, etc., to avoid the floppy paper straws of sadness. Now, as you can imagine, that happened once. However, my daughter and I love an iced coffee. We have a pretty good setup at home, with an ice machine, coffee machine, syrups, etc. That fateful metal straw W makes an appearance alongside its new metal straw friends multiple times a day. After it's used, it's rinsed with warm soapy water and left to dry, ready for its next iced delight. Wonderful. About a week ago, I thought my coffee tasted off, stale. Something was not quite right. One close sniff of the straw confirmed my stomach flip. It smelled damp, musty, earthy. I ordered some straw cleaners. Now, here is where I absolutely fucked. A normal person would have cut their losses and tossed it. Living in my delusion that I had not been sucking on a moldy straw would have been delightful. Instead, I used this straw cleaner, which, with one gentle push into the top, came out completely black. Thick chunks of black mold fell into the sink, forever tainting using straws ever again. Every single one of these metal straws, black mold inside. And not just a little sprinkling. Think an ecosystem of black death. Generations of mold have gathered here at the mecca of Fusti straws. So I share this as a warning for anyone like me who thinks rinsing a straw is enough. It absolutely isn't.